I don't believe it. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I am having a good time this Friday. And, today, in the spirits of all spirits, as I'm feeling so good, I had to turn around, right? And I had to sit back and I had to listen and show a little love to the homie that's doing it right now because every time he's doing it, he's killing it. So, shout out to the homie once again, Bruno. Bruno Mars. Now, if you hear myself in the background, that's me making sure everything's going so smooth as it always does. I don't even know why I checked this thing. It's magic. Anyway. So, with that being said, let me make sure I bring up my commentary on the side. You guys could jump in on the live, say what you want to say, do what you got to do. But the reality of it is, have you heard it? Now, this new single, for me, for the first time, really kind of listening to it, the moment I saw the setup and the video and the guitar, I was like, oh, this man's about to kill it. There was like nothing else about it. I was like, he's about to kill it. And the crazy thing is that like bring it back. Bring it back to the last time you heard Bruno drop an album, right? Because if you think about it, it's really hard to strike gold that many times twice. But I think he's doing it again. And the reason why like I'm so on it right now is because recently, and shout out of course to you can't even see the record here, but shout out to Bad Bunny. Recently, I'm finding this love for vinyls again. Now I had vinyls once upon a time, a very 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 long time ago. Now it's probably been about maybe 20 years. But the question is, would you buy one? It's a great question. Would you buy a vinyl? And so when you ask yourself that here, let me jump on the live chat. So when you ask yourself that, is it worth your money? You see, there was a time period, and this is what happened to the music industry for the youngins who don't know, who are just downloading off of Spotify and iTunes and all this other stuff, or who are just simply streaming and refusing to buy. Uh, we're also the reason why that is. Thank you. You could ask Napster and LimeWire, two names that a lot of you probably never heard of. But the reason why all this happened is very simple. A couple years ago, hmm, wow, it's been longer than a couple years ago. Wow, it has been a bit. Anyway, let's bring it back. So at one point in time, artists, right, or not the artist, because I think the artists were out there really trying their best. Labels at the time were turning around and saying, you know what people really need? Just two songs. And two songs is all you got. And you were spending at one point in time maybe $20 for a CD. Maybe you went to Watch the Throwback, The Wiz, and you got like a special or FYE, Watch the Throwback. Easy, dating myself. But you went to the store, I know, a store, and you turn around and you bought a CD. One point in time, you bought a cassette. All depends what happens, all depends your time period. Guys, please, it's still graceful. It's still graceful. So let it all soak in. Let it soak in gracefully. Anyway, so you went to this place, this magical place, and you bought this album. And then you went home with this album. And then you ended up getting two great songs off the album. And so you had to sit there and you say, well, that sucks. Because back then, $20 was a lot. At least for you, anyway. I mean, minimum wage was like 4.75 or maybe 5.15 at the time. It might have been something different. But just know, it took a lot. Minimum wage, if you think about it, if minimum wage was 5.15 at the time, it would have taken you 4 hours of hard work to buy one album, not counting tax. Anyway, we move forward. So as we move forward, here we are now. Let's say 20 years later. 20 years later, and these albums being produced now, maybe because the artist is more in control. It probably is because of that. The artist is more in control, and the album themselves have become that much more creative and a lot more better. Ooh, you can't say more better. Sorry. English teachers, my apologies. And have become that much better? More better? All right, got it. Have become better. There you go. Have become better. And so every single time you're playing, every time you're putting in this music and you're putting in this album, you're getting so much more back. So now the challenge and the question is, first off, would you be willing to uptake and upkeep a vinyl? Second off, would you be willing to buy a vinyl player? And third off, would you spend the $20 to $30 on an actual vinyl? Tis a great question. Tis a great question. But the album or the song came out. I don't know if the album came out, but the song came out. And it just kind of hit. And so I wanted to pose this question to all of you. Would you buy it? I hope you do. Bruno has been a very successful artist for probably 15 years, maybe 20 years, maybe even more. So we are on this. But that's all I wanted to do today. I know you guys are probably saying, we want more. We want to do this. We want to do that. I kind of just wanted to do this to have some fun with you guys. Typically, I was aiming for 10 o'clock, but I was playing with this camera that didn't want to go. And then I was doing this and doing that. And I was just kind of like, it's interesting. So I took a break back and then I came back and now I did this. But now I have to keep moving. This was a short live. I know. It's not really even that long. It's only about 6 minutes. But it was a short live. Maybe I'll come back on again. But the reason why I did it was because I just felt it here. I felt right. I felt like I heard this song and I was like, it needs some light. Now, I would have turned around and done The Boys. I was going to talk about the trailer that I've seen from The Boys because, my God, that show is awesome. Maybe next time. Let me pause this and I shall return. Hold on. No, I won't return. I am going to go run around. It's a Friday. I'm having some fun. I've been running around like crazy, but I did want to do a brief live just to say what's up to everybody. I hope everybody has an amazing Friday. And answer the question in the chat. Do me a favor. Go da 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 da. Maybe yes, maybe no. Da 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 da. Just write it all out. Tell me, would you buy the vinyl? Or be in fact, you don't even have to tell me would you buy the vinyl. Tell me, do you think the track is hot? The video kills it. The video kills it. And shout out to every single videographer because recently, you guys have been doing some phenomenal work. Like absolutely phenomenal work. I mean, I don't want to go all the way back to last month, but I mean, we all know Super Bowl halftime. Beautiful work. When I saw the videography for this video, and I was kind of just like watching it go down, I like the old school. I like the look that he did with it. I like just even some of the transitions and the way the camera was panning and swerving around him. The zoom in on the guitar, the plays with the hands, the beauty, the visual of the smile. I think it all really just kind of captured what he was going for. And, from one artist to another, it was absolutely beautiful. And I think that's the difference with the music coming out. See, there's a big gripe, right? Some people have where they're just kind of like, I don't get it. Like they'll turn around and they'll say something like, "No, the music today and music don't become the dinosaurs of the time. Music isn't going to sound like it did 40, 50 years ago. Generations have changed. Music isn't going to sound like it did 5 years ago. Times have changed. And what they're singing about and what they want, I feel has become a lot more creative and a lot more expressive. I think the talented artists of today are the ones that are really, really shining through. I think they're the ones that have the writing skills and the production skills to really make it happen. And that really all falls down into a couple things. That falls into the fact that, first off, we have the power of the internet and social media and all this stuff around because back in the day, it was really just kind of a CD walk up and play. But today, though, it really is like if you have a hot track, you could just kind of release it, work with it, and just do your best to make sure that people are hearing it and just promote it. Sometimes we get lost in the sauce of all this other stuff that's kind of going on, and we kind of like pull ourselves back. But you don't need to, And the idea that there's not, I wanted to touch on this beforehand, right? There's this idea that there's not enough to go around situation, and that's incorrect. That really is. Some people have this idea like, no, 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 there's not enough to go around. There is. There are plenty of artists. In fact, if you really listen to the radio, compared to the amount of artists that are either on the come up, on the rise, or doing what they're doing, there really is only a small portion of artists on the radio that make this kind of music, a very small percentage. Now, the beauty of us as listeners, because of things like Spotify and iTunes, we're actually able to go ahead and find and be recommended new artists that maybe not so high on that list. And while it is beautiful to have singers like, Lady Gaga and Taylor Swift, and you have all these people that have beautiful vocals and very unique artist styles. And to me, that's the real deal breaker for me. I like when an artist is an artist themselves. They may have things that are similar to other artists. You know what I'm saying? They might have these little things, these little approaches that might be a nod, an homage to another artist, but they have their own individual style. And that's the beauty. If I bought an album, right, I don't want it to be the same thing from someone else. You know, I don't need to have to split it apart to that differentiator. Realistically, I'm buying that album because that artist relates to me in one way. And I'm like, oh, I could connect with him in this light, in this level. And that's the hotness of it. You know what I'm saying? Now, each time new music comes out, sometimes you do have to vibe to it and you have to bounce to it a little bit. You could take your time out and think about what was I listening to recently? It's a different song. Oh, yeah, just the last single from Bruno. And I'm listening to him and I'm like, listen, man, this man stays in the funk. He loves that disco era. And I think I try to see it from that perspective, right? Like, could you imagine kind of going into a label, right? Or even going into your main, whichever, let's say he's free agent, whichever it may be. I don't know Bruno's artist contractual status. But then just turning around and being like, hey, I dropped a song like Grenade so many years ago and 24 Carat, but now I kind of want to do this thing and lean a little bit more into these kind of style of beats. Now, they might just say, come on, man, you already know the secret recipe, just do it again. I don't think you could do it again. I don't think you do it twice ever. I think when you make like that music and you make that album, you do it once. And I think that's why usually when you saw like albums renamed, for example, let's say the Blueprint, and then you do like the Blueprint 2.0 or the Blueprint 3, and you're kind of like, man, this doesn't hit the same. It doesn't hit the same as that first name, right? It would be like if Jay-Z was to come out and drop an album, like, how you have Reasonable Doubt. If he was to come out and drop a sequel and be like, do you still doubt? You'd be like, I don't know, man. Maybe it's been a while. No, I don't. But can you turn around and maybe like just rename it, rebrand it, call it something different, And then you look at this one, and there was a time period where I noticed that there was quite a few artists that leaned heavily into the '70s scenes and more of the disco era. Which is funny because how many years ago did people say that disco was dead? Ho, Jack, what's going on? What is up, Jack? Oh man, how you living? There you go. It's funny. I was listening to what's it, Third Eye? What's the name of it? Jumper. I was listening to Jumper today, and I was like, Jack, you know. So it is one of those things where it's very, very different. They leaned into disco, and what's crazy is that when they leaned into disco, they turned around and was like, disco is dead. But the question is disco really dead? Right? Can it really be dead? I remember a couple years ago, it was like Doja Cat. Doja Cat came out. Too Reasonable to Doubt. Yes, Jack. Too Reasonable to Doubt. So a couple years ago, like Doja Cat came out. Wow, it has been longer than a couple years ago. Maybe a decade ago now. And it had like all these things. I am having a good morning, Jack. I hope you're having a great morning too. I've been in such a good vibe and I've been fixing so many little things. My back counter looks crazy right now, but that's because I'm trying to repair things. But so it is one of those things where you see it and you see it like almost breathed into artists. And whether it was the flash and flare of the 70s that was short. You know, if you guys ever see the TV show from Netflix, it was canceled way too early. The Get Down. They highlight the young woman, the woman in there, and she wanted to be like a disco queen. And unfortunately, while she was getting signed and all this stuff was going on, right? Her, I guess you could say boyfriend at the time, I haven't seen the series now, it's probably been about 3 or 4 years, was rapping. And they were just kind of like, that's not going anywhere. That's not music. Da, 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 da. And lo and behold, what came after disco? And hip hop ran and still running all the way till now. Now, there are some that will argue with me and say that, hip hop has kind of hit its peak and it's this and that. And that's not the case. Hip hop did become mainstream in the late 90s, but it just evolved. And all music things simply just evolve. And you shouldn't be afraid of evolution. Like, that's beauty, that's progression. You're going to have artists that have different insights and different views on things, and that just makes it hot. It's when you turn around and you pull it back and you're like, I don't know. What don't you like about it? Can you keep up with it? It's easy to stay with what you know. You're always comfortable with what you know. It's easy to stay with what you know. But venturing, doing something different, even ordering something different off the menu, that's a living. And you got to live a little bit. Most of the time, you're sitting over here and you get this routine going, this routine playing, and it's just over and over and over. Do something different. It doesn't matter. Order a different flavor ice cream. I don't care what it is. And that's the way I treat music, right? You don't have to be stuck with the same artist. The artist that was cool 20 years ago was cool for his time period. The artists on the come up now, doing their thing now, appreciate them. They learned from the old ones that you liked. They were impacted and influenced in some form of way. But you turn around and you listen to them and you're like, oh man, that was hot. Now, sometimes, I could get on, I'll be myself. I could be a dinosaur in a certain sense where I'm just kind of like, no. And I say, no, from an artist perspective, because I feel like there was something missing or they took a lazy way out. You could kind of see that with artists. Well, let me not knock them, but you could kind of see it with an artist sometimes where it's like you probably could have went a little harder or you could have closed it out a little bit more. And I wasn't in session at the time when it happened, but you definitely took your foot off the brakes. And whether you were tired, exhausted, or whatever it may be, you just chose not to do it. And yeah, artist, you should know it does carry over in your tracks. Maybe something you don't want to hear, but it definitely carries over in your tracks. So don't feel the pressure to kind of just crush one thing. Just turn around, have a good time. If that's the way you chose to end it, that's the way you chose to end it. But we've heard it on songs, heard it all the time. And I'm like, you couldn't find a good word to go there, so you just ran with it, huh? Don't think we didn't notice. Oh, we notice. We notice when you're choosing to lack. Talking to you artists and songwriters. Songwriters. Or even writers in movies. Sometimes you have lazy writers. Don't think we don't notice when you have giant plot holes in there. We notice. Anyway. It's a beautiful Friday. I've had some fun. I am going to be doing a little bit more because I'm working on these arms thing and this whole situation thing, and it's a little bit of a challenge. I'll show you guys here. Hold on a second. You see, sometimes, just sometimes, you can make things better than the manufacturer. It doesn't happen all the time, but just sometimes. So you see this? Normal mic arm. You could buy it. You could do whatever you really want with it. But I discovered that if you replace the knobs right there and you replace those knobs, you could get a little. Hold on. Did I get a message? Okay. Sorry, guys. But you could replace a knob right here and you might be able to make it better. Or at least I thought so. Because while I was working on this yesterday, the other one didn't want to go. And so I'm in a very, very interesting situation with this, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But it did not go. Hey, what's going on, Marvin? It is terrible. Like, I have it, and I'll show you the other example. Wait. Ah, you see this example right here? See that right there? You can probably zoom in. Right there. And then this example. So, Allen keys are cool and all, but I don't like them on mic arms. So that's why I was doing this. So I was just kind of creating stuff the other day. I know what you guys are probably thinking. Anybody who's worked with me in the past will say, Drew, don't you usually manage people to do this? I used to, but then I realized that I'm actually pretty handy. Inside, outside. Anyway, so that's some of the stuff that I kind of get going on here. You know, um, this winter was a pretty uh, interesting winter with a lot of factors that kind of took on. And now that we're finally, my God, I even yesterday with the rain, I was done. Now that we're finally getting some warm weather and a break, I am like, thank God. I needed the spring. I needed warm weather. I'm a very tropical person. Okay, sand, warm water, the sun. Yes, I'm Jersey born. Um, there are just certain things though where I don't mind the snow for a bit, but then it's gotta go. And I'm like, you gotta go. You gotta. I'm sorry, you gotta go. This groundhog ain't helped nobody this year. So, with that being said, that project that you just saw me wave, that's what I'm gonna go try to figure out. That's my goal, to try to figure out why that's not going. Well, that's it. Hopefully, it does go well. That's where I'm at. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank everybody for joining. I do have cool little effects. Look. I know. I know. Bike horn. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys all have a great Friday. Thanks everybody for joining. I am wrapping this up. I'm wrapping it up now. I'm wrapping it up.